All right, Nelson. Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Great. Thanks, man, for the invite. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all. So, I started doing some research a long time ago, and I came across you through a friend, and you have a very unique story. So, do you mind diving into a bio of how you started De La Finca Coffee?
No, no problem. Thanks, man. Yeah. So it's as you say, I started the La Finca Coffee without having an idea of what an importer was, or what to do on this segment of the industry.
Right.
Um, I I'm originally from Honduras,
Hmm.
so I grew up in a coffee farm. So since I was a kid, I knew everything about what was living at the farm, planting the seed, picking the cherries, working at the washing stations, doing everything. So that's how my life started. So, and I'm just gonna show you this picture. This is me when I was with my grandpa at the farm.
That's
That
awesome.
doesn't look like that anymore. Right?
Right. Really?
Yeah. So I I was just like that, like kind of grew up that, and then I had the opportunity to come to United States and wanted to learn English. Went to school to learn English. Got into a program with international students. So there was people from all over the world, like trying to do the same thing, learning the language and get into the culture.
Right.
And one of them said, "Hey, let's get together to a coffee shop, a Starbucks." Went to the Starbucks, and then we got some people from cultures from all over. We got people from Turkey, India, Korea. We all couldn't speak English,
Right.
but neither of us speak the same language. So we were trying to make a big effort to do it and try to practice, communicate to each other.
Right.
But what was so nice that everybody had a cup of coffee and
Mm,
everybody was having a good time on a cup of coffee. And me was like, I would love to be able to tell this story on a cup of coffee, like how
right.
coffee travels. And at that point, my mind was like, this is so cool how people enjoy or get together on a cup of coffee, but how I wish I could tell them how coffee travels, or, like what families like me or what we do about that origin before you get that coffee. What's the process?
Right.
But the language, like it was in my mind, but I couldn't tell it. Right.
Right.
So that's why it's so cool to me to be able to be talking about it right now.
For sure. I mean, it's awesome. That's why I wanted to sit down and talk with you about it. And I wanted to so I have like baristas and roasters that come on the podcast, but you've done it all. So I'm super curious to what it was like coming over here. And I wouldn't say that, some people are unappreciative of where their coffee comes from, but just coming over here and
Right.
seeing how detached people were from coffee. And you're like, I have people that are picking this with their hands, and people don't even understand that, coffee beans come from coffee grapes or cherries. They don't understand any of that.
Right. Yeah. So that's what my thing, right? I was like getting into it, and I was like, how cool, at that time that was so new to me also, to having a frappuccino, things like
Right,
that,
right.
because to me coffee was a seed and it was a way to make a living for my family. So along the years, I was able to finish my English program, and I decided to start taking college classes.
Mhm.
And I remember I live in North Carolina now. So
Right,
while I was going to college, I went to a roastery that they do like a public cupping.
right.
Get there, got into them, and I saw a bunch of beans, coffees, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." Because, as I say, as a producer, you don't know anything about cupping. You know about farming. That's it.
Right,
The
right.
industry is totally new.
Yeah.
I put my hands in a barrel of coffee, and I look at the beans, and I say, "Hey, man, these beans are so nice." And
Mhm.
the roaster told me these are from Honduras. And I said, any idea where in Honduras and what part of Honduras? And he told me, no, I know this is from Honduras.
Mm.
And I was like, it could be nice if this coffee could have come from maybe my farm, or we didn't know a little bit more about the farmer.
Right.
So this is like, I'm talking about probably 2005, something
Okay.
like that. So that wasn't so common to know the farmer at that time.
Right.
But in my mind was, I wish I could also tell you a little bit more about the farmer and the work that is putting for you to guys to have this coffee here. All right.
Right.
So boom, make it shorter. I finished college, and all of those things were in my mind from the beginning. How people get together for a cup of coffee, how roasters probably don't know much about how their coffee is being sourced.
Right.
And I say to myself, let me go back to Honduras.
Hmm.
And I came back to Honduras with a bunch of ideas. Like, hey, I grew up like the farmer that we have a small farm, but we have a lot. We have land. So my
Right.
grandpa told me, why don't you start your own farm? I said, okay. So he gave me some land, and I decided, hey, I'm gonna plant a nice plantation, and I decided to plant 100,000 trees of pacamara. That was without knowing what I was doing.
Hmm.
I'll say, hey, I'm
Right.
gonna do it. I know I'm gonna do a good coffee. Boom. And I decided to manage my grandpa's farm. Things didn't do and I was just living in Honduras, taking care of my plantations, selling coffee locally, selling coffee to exporters, big traders, buying coffee from other producers, and I was doing well, like managing the family farm, helping them to grow,
Right.
improving quality while my plantation was growing. But the first year that I had a crop, we got the fungus, La Roya.
Oh, wow.
That rust destroyed
Hmm.
most my plantation completely.
That's rough.
And the pacamaras trees are very susceptible to all those diseases. And I
Okay.
didn't have a lot of funds to keep putting into it.
Hmm.
And then I was like, what do I do now? Like, then the market prices dropped tremendously.
Hmm.
And we had all of our coffee in warehouse waiting to be liquidated or sell it. But the market dropped completely. So we were very close to give up farming.
Wow.
And banks, when you have a leaf like Roya, they don't give you funding to recuperate your plantations.
Right.
So I said to myself, what do I do now? All right. There's not many options. I don't have capital to replant my farm. Even my family's farm were in a bad spot. The money that we're gonna get with the coffee that we have is just gonna be enough to take care of ourselves, but not to take care of the farm. So I say to myself, two things I know is that Americans love coffee.
Right.
Now I know English. I can communicate with them. And I went to business school there too. So
That's
I think I
awesome.
can go and sell coffee there.
Yeah, for sure.
So put myself in a plane, came back to I thought, North Carolina. I lived there, I've been there, a lot of roasters there. They'll be waiting for me to buy my coffee. So boom, came in, didn't know what I was doing. Like if that exporting process is different than farming, and then
Right.
importing coffee is something else different. So I get connected with another big importer that brought my beans into the country.
Right.
And I got here with the coffee and I didn't know how to sell it.
Mm.
And I started going to roasters. Hey, I'm a producer. I had some coffee, and everybody was like, no, we already got relationships. No, we already buy from this person. No, where you keep that coffee? And I'm like, wow.
That's crazy.
I was like, I thought this was going to be easy. Now what do I
Right.
do? I was like, wow. And then
So
I
would you
start.
say that's one of your main difficulties when you came over to try to start your business was
Oh,
just
yeah,
finding business? Was that the main one?
yeah. What's the hardest part? As
Right. Right.
I always tell producers now that they have the idea when they're trying to do what I did is just that, hey, roasters would be eager to meet the producer and talk about it. No, I got in and I got too many doors shut on me, and too
Right.
many people told me, your coffee's not good. I can get it cheaper over here. It's better to do this. I was like, man, really? I mean, and obviously my costs were very expensive because I have to pay somebody to process my coffee.
Right.
I have to pay somebody to consolidate what I had and put it in a container and pay them for everything. So my cost of bringing the product was more expensive,
Right.
and obviously I was trying to recuperate that and
Hmm.
add some value, but it wasn't easy. It
Right.
wasn't. So at that point, I'm like, I was in a worse position than
Right.
than, than what I was in Honduras. But I said to myself, what do I do if I go back? how I'm going to sell the coffee that I have here.
Right.
I don't have finances there, and I don't have finances here. So what do I do?
Right.
So I got together with some friends and went to a roaster. He didn't want to buy my coffee, and I told him, "What about if you roast it for me?"
Mm.
And like, "Yeah, I roast it and I charge you." Like, man,
More money. Yeah.
I tried
Right.
to get out of debt and support the family, but this is not looking good. So I said, okay, you know what? Let me go and find whatever jobs I can take here and see if I can sell this coffee. And so he roasted for me, and then I used to take that coffee and beans and take it to places like shopping centers, door to door.
Right.
So for $10, 1 pound of coffee, and people were asking me, where does this coffee come from? And I said, from my farm, de la finca, from mi
Right.
finca. So I say, it comes from mi finca, or
Right.
from my farm. Okay. People bought it to support and help out. But I have like almost, I was 150 bags of coffee. I was like, man, this is a lot of
Yeah.
coffee.
Right.
When I'm going to sell it all. So then I decided, I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna register a company and I'm gonna start see because get to somebody and tell me, hey, I take your coffee, but can you give me credit terms? And I'm like, really, credit terms now? It's like what? So I said, well, I think this is how it is, right?
Right.
That's how it started. Then I registered the business as De La Finca,
Nice.
coffee from my
Yep.
farm as De La Finca Coffee Importers,
Hmm.
and I started doing that. Hey, looking for roasters, selling one bag at a time, giving whatever they wanted. If they want terms, all right, I'll give you a term. 60
Right.
days, okay, I just need to get rid of this coffee,
Hmm.
And that's how everything started. That from that point, my learning curve started. All right.
Right.
So okay, so now I have a company. Now I got together with a custom broker.
Right.
Now I'm learning.
Right.
Now I'm learning the industry
When did you
and that's
realize that you had the ball rolling? Like you're like, okay, the business is coming now. This is awesome. I need to start hiring people.
that was 30 years. For three
Okay.
years, I was just working and working and losing money
So it
day
was
after.
just you.
It was me for three
Oh,
years. I was the
so you
accounting.
you were De La Finca for 3 years.
Yeah, for three
Okay.
years, man.
That's awesome.
I was the accountant. I was the customer service, social media, and everything. Right.
Right.
Um, I just did everything myself for more than 3 years. Then I hired a person to help me with social media because I was like, man, I don't know. I'm not a good person into this. I need somebody
Right.
to communicate that. And that person told me, hey, you probably need somebody to help you in the office. But as a small business owner, you're like, man, how am I gonna pay her? I can barely
Right.
pay myself. How am I gonna
Yeah.
have now somebody in to work with me? And but I say, you know what? Yes, let me take the risk and hire her full time to take care of all of the office staff. And at that point, it was like, man, I have more time to get together with roasters, to go more festivals, to do more things, and to start learning more about the industry. And I would say from that point off, the business has started taking off, because I'm learning more.
Right.
People see me more than there. Someone's like, "Man, you're still here trying to sell coffee?" And I say, "Hey, yes, I'm here. I mean, oh man, okay, I'm gonna buy from you this time because I see you
Right.
around for 3.5 years, 4 years already, and you keep insisting to sell me coffee. Okay, let me give you a chance." So at that point, I see that we start businesses start taking off, and then we added more people, then we added more quality control, and then
Right.
we start learning businesses here and back at origin in
Right.
Honduras. Like I have to educate my family too on, hey, this
Right.
is how business is done in the United States,
Right.
and this is what we need to do in order to, to grow the business and continue doing things.
Right. I feel like you guys have an amazing selling point. There isn't a whole lot of people that live over here that have 5 generations of coffee experience. That just, that doesn't exist really. So I feel like for your company, I feel like we're moving more towards people looking for that. They're looking for straight from the source coffee. And the fact that you have 5 generations of coffee experience is just amazing.
Yeah, and and I think what I'm doing is what we needed as a family, right? Because we
Right.
have 5 generations of growing coffee, and we
Mhm.
stopped there,
Right.
and we didn't change. We we didn't, involve. My grandpa took the farm from his dad, then he passed it to another one, and it was the same thing. No,
Right.
my family was reluctant to change. But then when they saw what I was doing here, they were like, okay, let's give him a try. Let's try this, let's try that. So now when you visit the farms, you see technology, you see better conditions for the workers, you see beautiful farms, very nice,
Right.
healthy trees. You see like very conditions for everybody. You see how we do so much now, and that's how, as you say, we were in a unique position because we learned the industry, how it works in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
We learned how to do the exporting part, and then we changed the way we farm.
Right.
We now do more technology. We're more, okay, this is what our soils need. This is what we need to do. Same thing with our employees. So we changed that family trust on that, and like most of the coffee that we export from Honduras, half of it is ours.
Right.
We also work with different producers that have the same mentality to work with us. But that's what kind of makes us a little bit unique, because we're like, we're still small,
Right.
but everything is run in the family. The farms are run by a cousin, the mill, everything, and I'm still running the business here.
Can
So
I ask
it's
you a
like,
question real quick? Do you know Ashley Williams from Legacy Farms?
yeah, definitely, I know him.
Yeah,
I
he sent me a couple of the Honduran V60s, the little V60s. Yeah,
uh-huh.
he sent me. Is that what they're called? What are they called? Is it is
The
it's like the little
El
metal
Colador?
Swiss? Yeah, is that what
Yeah,
it's called? Okay,
Colador, yeah.
he's yeah, he sent me a couple of those, and I don't think, like, he says there's a bunch of big farms around him, and I'm like, that's got to be De La Finca. Like, I was thinking,
Yeah, we actually do some work with Ashley.
okay,
We help him out with some of the importing and processing sometimes.
okay,
We even talk about helping him also with the farm. He has a
okay,
nice big farm,
okay,
and that's part of what I say. Like, hey, we also want to make sure that the farmers, they're profitable with their farms,
right,
because we were able to make our farms being profitable from
right,
always being in debt. We were able to make the farms to produce enough coffee to be profitable. So I
right,
had some conversations with him, and we own a farm not too far from him, a small one,
okay,
because we are in another region. But we kind of, like, we I know exactly where it is. He's very close to one of the farms, and we're like, hey, we need to
right.
talk about your process and all that.
For sure. He loves it down there. I know, like,
Hmm.
I did like a little podcast with him, and he's always sending me like pictures of all the. It's just beautiful down there.
Yep, it's very
Uh,
nice. Yeah.
do you so now that you've moved everything over here to this, well, not everything, but you're selling here over in the States. Do you build stuff back for the community back at home? Like, now that you're able to give back?
Yes. So, when we like us when we started, like, hey, we then figured out, okay, so now our goal, I'll tell you this, my goal, I remember, that I told one of my employees, she asked me one time, like, when do you think you're gonna feel good? And I said, well, when I sold all my family's coffee. I don't
Right.
want to, everything that we produce, I want to sell it directly to roasters. And then that happens 3 years ago.
Wow.
And she's like, "Are you satisfied now?" I'm like, man, I have so many producers now wanting to work with me. I have them of other
Right.
origins, and the roasters that I work with when they were small, they're big now, and they want to continue working with me. So
Right.
I see an opportunity. So we're gonna continue doing this. But when it comes to that idea of farming, right? To the farmers, I always say, I'll pay you what's fair for
Right.
the product that you produce.
For
Don't
sure.
expect more than that,
Right.
because I want to create business that work for everybody, for the roaster, for my company, for my exporting company, and for the producers.
For sure.
I don't want to build business that only work for the farmer or work for the roasters.
Right.
There's a big gap now happening, right? And it happens back at origin. And I work with other importers that want to support the country, but I told them,
Right.
talk to me first, because I'm a farmer.
Right.
I know exactly what that farmer is going to do to you, because
Yep.
I know, and I've been a businessman in Honduras too, so I know everything that
For
is
sure.
happening over there. So talk to me because I want to make sure that I guide you through to make sure you create something that will benefit all of us, right?
For sure.
So then we decided, okay, so we feel that providing a good, my family is doing well, right? So the producers that we work with pay them a really good price for their crops. Why we need to give them more?
Right. Right.
Let's put our focus into education into the country,
For sure.
because the reason why, as I was telling you, we didn't see much changes in even 5, 6 generations doing coffee was education.
Right.
I had the opportunity to come here and see other world,
Hmm.
see other ways to do business, see other ways to do trade. So when I went back, I was thinking different. And I was like, let me do things a little bit different. We're gonna do things different way because, and people were like, no, so I went to the States. They are the number one in business. So why don't you let me run it like they do over there?
Right.
So we were like, okay, so why don't we focus ourselves in education in the farming communities? We talk always about people trying to leave the countries. Yes, because they don't see opportunities around them. But if we create educations to them, yes, then we'll see a big change. And that's where we started. We started with
Okay.
a school in one of the locations where we have one of the biggest farms.
Okay.
Now it's a big high school.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and because of that, a nonprofit from Canada donated like $400,000 to build a big
That's
center,
that's amazing.
a big center of technology, technical, and everything, and made that an example of what kids wants to do. Because I said we planted the seed. We were not part of this organization, but they saw the desire of those kids to continue bettering themselves,
Right.
and they decided, okay, we're gonna work there. And I talked to my family, and I was like, I feel so excited because I wasn't the one who get the funding or nothing, but they told me because what you brought into this community caused attention, and they decided to put that center here.
Right.
So, and then we decided to do the same thing. We partnered with a nonprofit in Honduras that's what they focus on, education.
Okay.
So what we do is we build schools where there is only sixth grade. We give them secondary,
Okay.
and that makes it. That's kind of what we get so excited because we don't ask for funding on that. We
Right.
tell people
Right.
buy our coffee, and we
Hmm.
put a portion to that, and it costs not much to run a school over there.
Right.
So we
Yeah.
have
You're
opened three
you,
already.
three. Oh,
Yep.
okay. Yeah. Well, you're a perfect advocate for that, for to like set an example for the kids or teenagers growing up there, because you left to go get an education and you
Yes.
learned everything and you brought everything back. And I feel like people are going to jump right on that. They're like, oh, he went and got educated, and now he's got an amazing life. Like, I feel like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and I told them, like most people think, hey, that I come from a wealthy family, and not. I had opportunities,
Right.
and I was fortunate to take advantage of them. But I don't come from a wealthy family. Now we do well, but as I say, like anybody, like that's all we do. Like I changed the way we do business in Honduras,
Okay.
and the same thing what we do with our workers. I make sure that every person that works for my farm, my engineers, my technicians, they get paid well, they
Okay.
get good conditions, so they're happy. They're not thinking
Right.
about I'm gonna immigrate, right? Because
Right.
I'm happy. I'm in my home. Most people live because they want something better, but when you are in your country, when you have all the things that you need, plus you see that there may be opportunity for your kids because there's schools there,
Right.
and the first promotion that graduate, three of them they work for us.
Oh,
Some
okay.
others move to the city to advance their education. So I'm
Right.
like, hey, I mean, I hope to see one day a minister or a president or somebody that came from the support that we did in education in Honduras. Just give you an example. The last school that we opened is in another farm that I took over last year. That my grandpa, the one that raised me, he got kind of sick, so he let me run the farms completely, and I decided, hey, I take another farm on my terms. I want to do it the
Right.
way I wanted it. So there was no school there too, and there was like 33 kids, 13, 14, 16. They just
Right.
finished sixth grade. They couldn't have any more. And the funny thing was that when we did, out of those kids, 90% were girls.
Okay.
And what happened there is after sixth grade, those girls that have nothing else to do than making tortillas at home
Mm,
and finding a guy to take them and make them mothers and build
right.
their own families too.
Right.
13, 14. But when we brought that in, they were like, hey, no, I'm going to go
Right.
to school because
Right.
I'm going to go to school and I'm not going to get married here. I'm going to wait and I'm going to have an opportunity to become a nurse, to do all those things.
That's awesome.
And I was like, man, this is so exciting, like to
Hmm.
see in that and see them motivated. And the nonprofit that we work with help them with leadership to make them leaders in that community.
Right.
So they have to take care of their communities because they live there.
For sure.
So instead of like sending donations, we say, hey, you tell me what project you're going to do in your community, and we're going to fund the funding. And we buy everything local to create that economy cycle. And as I say, like it was so nice that my grandma was my grandma always was skeptical about things. And the other day she told me, what you have done in this community, you have created they call a little empresita, like a little business
Okay.
that make everybody eat and do
Right.
things, and the cycle is here because it's now a new little store here. There's somebody repairing motorcycles, and
That's awesome.
you provide most of the job to these kids over here. And now because you open a school, there's two teachers, and we hired local teachers. We find teachers in that community
Right.
to teach them. That way
That's
the
awesome.
money and everything keep building local in there. So that's kind of what we do as a main focus into that. That's what we focus. And with farmers, if it's a small farmer that doesn't have, like, hey, that he has the desire to do well, then we support them. Okay, this is what you need, but this is the plan that we want you to work with in order to be part of what we do.
Okay. I
Because
see.
I learned that's what I was telling you. My dad told me this, right? If you sell something on discount, people will want more discount.
Right.
You
I
tell them,
got you.
hey, and same thing with farmers. You give them something, they will want more and more and more,
I see.
and they want to do little. So now it's like, hey, I'll help you. I will send my engineers. I even finance the fertilizer, but I want you to also do a great job to make sure that you continue getting the support from my roasters and from the La Finca.
Right. Now, how often do you split your time between the States and Honduras?
Half and half.
It's half and half.
Yes.
Okay, so when you like when you're coming back, so when do you traditionally or yeah, traditionally go down to Honduras? Is it like during the growing seasons or do you spend like how do you split your time up? Because I mean, you seem like a very busy man, so
Yeah,
I'm
I am.
curious to how you would I'm curious to how you would split it up.
No, it's really tough because we have. I see the farms, and that's my passion. I like to be in the
Right.
farms, and
Right.
I try to make excuses to always do business and go to the farm. But that's what I always wanted to be,
Right.
farmer, and sell my coffee straight from Honduras. I wasn't planning to run the La Finca US and be an importer. No, my dream was always
Right.
to be in the farm. So during harvest, I spend a lot of time there making sure that, hey, this is how my crop looks like, doing an evaluation on what the next harvest is going to be, so I can pass
Okay.
that message to the customers. Spend a couple months there, then I come back for a few weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Then I go back for another month. Then when we start ready to export, I go there too to kind of get everybody together to make sure that, hey, if something didn't do well this year, this is what we need to improve. Make sure the quality control and everything goes well. Then I come back. Once we start bringing coffees over here, then I'm here, like most of it, to make sure we do the sales and build new relationships. And then then I went almost is like the thing now is that we work with other origins, so I have to do more travel. So
Right.
I would say that I spent out of the year, probably 6 months in Honduras, maybe
Okay.
4 here in the States, and the rest of it is between other
All
places.
over. Okay.
Yep.
So that's awesome. So I was also curious to pick in your brain on this. I hear that it's a headache, but what does it take to keep an organic seal as a farm?
It's very expensive, first of all, right?
Right.
That certification is only for groups and co-ops or big state farms
Okay.
to maintain that, right?
Right.
Um, you have to have some, you have to follow like the organic protocol, right? That
Right.
have to be
Right.
no chemicals, pesticides. Nowadays, there is, because when you go fully organic, your crop is lower.
Right. Okay.
And obviously, you have to sell that coffee at a higher prices. But what's happening is there is being a lot of faking organic products there,
Right.
right? So, and then it's causing the people that are doing a real good organic to be not motivated because the premium and the prices are not compensated on that.
Right.
So that is one of those things where that you have to be like, okay, so what do I need to do in order to do this? Is this worth it or not? Right? I was
Right.
opposed of doing organic certification because of the cost, and
Right.
that was the reason, because we created a group as a family, and then we brought other producers to be like, okay, so we're gonna go organic,
Right.
and then this is what we're gonna have to do. But we use some fertilizers that are not 100% organic, but they actually are on the line of organic. You know,
I, I
they're
see.
made in what they're made in Guatemala as organic certified fertilizers, but they actually are built in a plant,
Okay.
and then we use that to help us to to keep that. We use one of those a year, and two are fully organic that we made in the farm,
Okay.
and everything else is done there, and then we do the inspections and we pass everything, so we don't use any chemicals or any pesticides or anything.
Right. And you guys have to pay an individual to come and certify you, right? Like you have to pay someone to come inspect and all that stuff. Isn't that a
Yes,
part of the cost?
yeah, it's a lot of paperwork.
A lot
First
of
of all,
paperwork.
you have to pay somebody to come and inspect the farms, right? Then
Right. Right.
you have to also pay somebody to visit the farm, train the farmers, and everything is in the package, and then you have to pay a
That's
technician
crazy.
to get the samples, and yes, it's very costly, like very, very costly. But when it's done well, it's good because
Right.
you actually see in few years the difference in the plantations, right?
Right.
But at the beginning is really hard because your yield drops, and then if you don't find a good buyer for that product that really care about it, or because there's different buyers. There's a buyer that care about that it says on the label organic certified,
Right.
but there's somebody that actually care about the work that you're doing.
Okay. Gotcha.
And so yeah, so that's when it comes to like, hey, my producers, they were not happy at the beginning,
Hmm.
but thankfully we do work with a lot of roasters that actually value the work we do.
Right.
And then we even gave them what we call a bonus for quality, because a lot of the people that we work with, they do a really nice work, and then we give them money like in June, July, after we tally everything that they deliver to the mill and everything. So we give them the money back, and they get so excited. So it was so
Right.
funny because this year, everybody that had a little coffee plot, they want to be part of our group. Like, hey,
Right.
can we join with you guys?
For sure. Yeah, I told my wife, I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna start buying some coffee from here." I mean, I'm in South Carolina, so you're right up the road from me.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, so and that's awesome. But yeah, I'm gonna start buying some coffee from you guys because so far most of the people love the beans from Honduras that I've sold. So I want to start digging more into beans from Honduras.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah,
We
so
do.
what's up?
No, as I say, like Honduras has very unique way. I mean, when you get good coffees, you be on a coffee table with different coffees from the same origin, and you'll
Right.
be surprised, like when you cup those pacamaras, those geishas, those
Really? Is
parainema,
it that
and you'll be
different?
like, Yeah, big difference. Yeah,
Big difference. That's awesome. So,
big difference.
when you're picking out your beans, like when you go down there, what score are you looking for when you get them scored? Like what is De La Finca trying to hit when they bring their coffee in?
Right. So what we do as a company, we have divided. That's one thing that I learned as a business owner. Also, when I started the La Finca, I only want to sell coffees that were very expensive,
Right.
like 86, 87. Right. For a few years, I was just doing that, only 85-point coffees.
Okay.
But then my family was like, hey, what do we do with these 83s, 82s that we grow? Are we going to continue selling
Right.
locally to the big multinationals? I mean, they were like, we appreciate what you're trying to do, but I mean, you're taking only 20% of what we produce.
Right.
I was like, yeah, makes sense. Like if I want to create an impact, I want to make sure I find a home for everything.
For sure.
That's when I started like, okay, so now instead of just being Finca Santa Lucia from my farm, I want to
Mhm.
create a Santa Lucia family lot, which is a coffee from, because we farm right next to each other. Like you come
Right.
in, like cousin, brother, brother-in-law, all of them, we farm in the same community. So coffees are with the same profile. So
Okay.
we have our family estate, which is Santa Lucia family lot. That coffee ranges from 83 to 80, 84 points. And
Okay.
that's what we're trying to get. Then we do have Santa Lucia Reserve, which is maybe we do one container of that a year, 85 points. Then we have bought other farms that are owned by the La Finca too, that we do more micro lots. We
Right.
try to hit those experimentals,
Right.
86,
Right.
87s. Then that's when we work with another individuals, like the small producers that focus on higher end coffees that hit
Right.
88 competition coffees.
Right.
So with us, you're always gonna find what you need in your menu because as
Right.
a roasters, you need those consistency, nice
Right.
83, 83 and a half
You can
coffees.
still get a good cup of coffee out of an
You
82 to
definitely are.
84. Yeah, it's crazy that
Definitely, you
yeah.
definitely do. I mean, and that is why we try to always, because what happens is you need that consistency, right?
Right.
Having that coffee in your blend as your business grow, you need to escalate too. Remember,
For sure.
finding those 86, 87 there is kind of hard. So you growing, you need consistency. And that's what we're
Right.
trying to do too. Hey, that's gonna be the key of the La Finca because the Santa Lucia family lot, it's a solid 83 and a half points, 84. We're trying to market there that when
Right.
the customers try it, they're like, oh man, this stuff is good. So
For
the
sure.
price is right. It's a fully certified organic. It's traceable because majority of that lot is from the farms that we own, and it's your solid coffee, right? Then we also do one container of micro lots from two of the farms that we have that are
Okay.
like 86 plus to 87, 88 sometimes. And then we have a little farm in Marcala where you're close to where Ashley Williams farm is.
Okay.
That was the first one that we bought to do experiments. We do the anaerobic, we do all of those things there with nice varietals.
Mhm.
We probably do 150 bags from that farm in 30
Okay.
kilos boxes.
For sure.
And they do coffees that are 87 plus to 87 and a half, 88 points.
Awesome. So, one more question is well, not well, I got more questions, but is it a headache transporting your coffee from the farm to the States? Like it can you explain the process to people that don't understand what it takes to get coffee from where you're at to here?
Yeah, well, that's a very complex process, right? First of all, the coffee has to be picked, right? Then it goes to a washing station where it's being processed, and you determine what process are you going to do in this coffee. It's going to be a natural wash, things like that, called the drying station or the drying mill.
Right.
Then it has to go to a process, and it will take that coffee, we put it in a warehouse. We normally let all our coffees rest for a month,
Okay.
and then we cup every single bag that we have to make sure that the coffee is what we're expecting on those lots that we sell.
Right.
Then we take that coffee to be processed in our mill. Everything is done, but we don't outsource anything. Everything is done in house.
Nice.
So there, coffee is being processed, and then We just say, hey, we normally do like European preparation, which is 8 to 12 defects, secondary ones. We process the coffee, keep it there, and then the La Finca US here, our team in here, they start making the contracts, right? So what we do now, and this is really good to when people want to say, I want to buy it direct from the farmer.
Right.
Probably they don't understand like all the work involved and paperwork.
Right.
I'm talking about there's almost 3 months since the coffee was being picked. My
Right.
family need money immediately to buy
Right.
fertilizers, to pay workers. That coffee hasn't left the country yet. That
Right.
coffee that is coming now, almost in June, is being picked not, December, January through March,
Right. Okay.
and the coffee is just arriving now. So then what we do is at the La Finca US finance that, get a loan and pay the family, the company in Honduras, so we can get our cash in hand to continue the process on the farms.
Right.
Then that's when the coffee gets here into the country. Then we book the container, bring it in, and now we have to sell it and then start collecting our payments to go back the cycle again,
Right.
to send the money back again over there.
So that is just so awesome. That's a lot. I feel like most people don't understand that. They think that, oh, it's Amazoned over here or
No, it's
something.
not. It's not. And all the things that happens, like for example, last year or 2 years ago, our container of micro lots got busted in customs,
Oh, wow.
and they took that container out to an area. They unloaded and ripped the bags, the boxes, and
No.
everything. Yeah, they destroy it and they
What was the
throw
what was
everything.
what was the reasoning behind it? What'd they say?
Nothing. They just
Nothing?
say, hey, they randomly pick a container and they decided to
And they cut the
just
bags.
they cut the bags and open it out,
Oh.
and then just throw you back everything back the way they wanted it. And when the coffee got here, it got this like lost, and then
Oh,
we're
I
like,
bet
man.
that was upsetting.
Plus, on top of that, they charged me $9,000 for all of that.
How much money did you
And
lose total? Was it 9,000 total or
I paid $9,000 to them, and that's the thing, when you have when you the bags were ripped, like I mean, the coffee was like all damaged, so we probably lost like $40,000 on that
no way.
because that was very expensive coffee. And then you tell the roaster, hey man, there I have some bags that are still good. They're like, oh no, I want my bags to be perfectly. So
Oh,
and and that was coffee that, as I said, at that point, we're responsible to pay the producer.
right. And
We
you said this
cannot
this
tell
was a micro lot, right?
micro lot, yes, very
Oh,
expensive coffees that we pay our
golly.
farmers $5, 4.50. And how do you tell the farmer, hey man, I will not pay you because custom busted my coffee?
Right.
You're like, well, not your fault,
And
you
that's
are
just
paying.
that's just a pick luck of the draw for something like
Yeah,
that to happen, really? Like, you can't
yeah.
control that?
No, you can't control that.
Well, there, you heard it there, folks. Like, your coffee is not easy to get over here, so I'm not telling anybody to appreciate it, but, yeah, it's definitely a difficult process. Alright, Nelson, so what is your guys' future plans for De La Finca? Like, where do you see the company in 10 years?
Because people ask me that question a lot, and for me, it's really hard to answer it
Right, right,
because what I am right now, I never saw myself what I was doing. Right.
right,
I remember that when I'd say people, right, hey, they come to my office, and my office is very tiny. We do keep coffee in here too, and because we're full,
right,
and everybody's like, man, why you get this such a small space? And I said, man, when I started this thing looked huge to me.
right, right, right.
I, I was like, this warehouse, this place was like, what I want to do with this big place,
Right, right,
right? So, and then I was like, man, when I bring 2 or 3 containers a year, I'll be very satisfied. We're doing way more now, and I'm like, what's next? What do I do next? So
right,
now my plan is to kind of, be solid, be consistent in what we do. Um, we love the coffee community. We've been building relationships in other countries. As I said, I never saw myself buying coffee from Brazil, talking on the phone with people from Africa, like
right.
working on hours and all of that. So I was like, well, I wasn't even ready for that. You know, like I never even thought about me going to Colombia and buy coffee directly from Colombia to from all of those places. So if I was looking at the company, my company for the next 10 years, I hope we could be doing the same thing we're doing,
Right.
building more relationships, um, doing more education. I think that is something that we want to do. Uh, like I think I feel that we can offer so much to other people too, that they're trying to do the same thing that we do, and we're like, hey, let's work together to make sure you're successful into this. But for the next 10, I say I have a child now, so I told him, if I think I can work for the next 30 years building
Right.
this to a point that if you wanted to continue one day, be in the sixth gen,
Right.
I already built it for you to see what's the next level will take. Um, and yeah, so my thing is like continue building relationship for the next 10 years, learning. You never stop learning in coffee. It's one thing that I always tell, I learn every day about different things, different coffees, and like building more relationship. It's so funny that now everywhere I go to, I get to know people. I'm in Peru. Okay, let me text somebody that I know that I met at a
That's
festival or
awesome.
things like that. That I'm in Lima, so that's what I love about it. So I see myself doing the same thing, building more relationships. And as a dream, we always like to see, hey, we want to be the company that when a roaster is looking for relationships and that care about it, they can think about us.
Right.
But I don't. I mean, we want people to look as, hey, I want to buy from these guys because they believe in what we do.
For
Like,
sure.
hey, more of because that's the same thing. When I do business too, like I'm like, dude, what are you looking for? You're looking for a relationship coffee? You're looking for more, or you're looking for just a trade commodity coffee? Which, if that's what you're looking for, I'm learning now how to trade on the market too, because that's a
Right.
part of the learning process of being a trader. We can do business too. We can
Right.
buy it, but I want people to, when they come to me, they say, "Hey, I want to buy coffee because this is I hear like I'm looking for more of a relationship, more of a more closer intimacy with the families, with the producers."
Right.
Now it's funny when people come to visit our mill now, roasters. They're like, "You, why you guys are so simple? Like, you guys." I mean, I say, "Yeah, this is how we run." My nephew run the mill. We all family here. You come
Right.
to hang with us. We're gonna treat you like a family. We don't need to impress anybody.
Right. Right.
You come and hang with us, and if you like it, what we do, we take you to the farm, but we're not trying to impress anybody because this is who we are, and this is what we have, and whatever we have built it from nothing.
I think that's super important because it brings a certain level of genuine to your business, and a lot of people are looking for that. And hey, I have a question. What is it like? You grow coffee in Honduras. What is it like going to all these other countries at their origin and seeing their process on how they grow coffee?
Same thing, man.
The same thing.
It's like it's very nice because I always tell people, the story of farmers is the same thing everywhere.
Right.
Every farmer believes that their coffee is the best coffee in the world.
Right.
Same thing, every farm you go, if you tell that their coffee is not that good, they get offended immediately.
Right. Okay.
Like it happens to me. I went to Peru to work with some producers over there, and they put on their table some geishas,
Mhm.
but they were like 84, 85 points coffees. So
Okay.
a lot of the buyers that were in that group still weren't happy with that, and
Mm.
they get really offended. The coffee is grown by myself. It's a geisha. Then I have to step in aside and I told them, let's talk about as a producer to producer. And I also want to tell you that I sell coffee over there to those guys over there, to the
Right.
Americanos, to the gringos. I do sell coffee to them too.
Right.
And I know what they're looking for,
Mhm.
right? So we producers sells coffee with a heart. They're, they're copying your coffees right now. That's
Right.
how they're going to buy your coffees. So I told them, even if it's a geisha, you need to do a little bit different to make sure the geishas are higher scores or things like that. So same thing. It happened to my grandpa when I was telling him, hey, we need to improve. Oh, no, no, no. I've been doing this thing like that forever.
Right,
So why
right,
would I have to change? If they don't like my coffee or they don't like my product, it's the same thing. So same story everywhere. You get to the innovators, hey, you get to those people that are trying to do something different. Like you go everywhere, it's almost the same thing. That's the
right,
thing about coffee. Like if you're a roaster, you travel over there, same passion that you have over here, that roasters will have over there. You're a big roaster here, you go to another country, they will operate almost the same thing. That's
right.
why we call it I always say that coffee is like a mafia. Once you get into the cartel, it's
Hmm.
hard for you to get out, man, because we are all over.
Right. So have you went into another country and tried their coffee and been like, that is an amazing cup of coffee, like straight from the source?
Yeah, everywhere, man. I was very impressed in Haiti one time.
Okay.
I went there too with another group of people from. They have a non-profit and they trying to rebuild the coffees in Haiti. And
Okay.
just a simple cup of coffee was delicious. And I was like,
Really?
man, yeah. So that was like I was super super impressed with what they have over there.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm gonna have to look into that. So one thing that you could possibly actually, let's do with two things. What would you tell anyone getting into the coffee business, or even farmers back home, anybody getting into the business or even the roasting business? This is more of like business advice more than just coffee advice. So,
Hmm.
what is the biggest tips that you have for anybody just taking that step into their business venture?
I always say that as any business, you gotta be ready to work hard because there is no key to be successful in business.
Right.
One thing that I learned, like that wherever you go, if you work hard every day, you will do good. Ethics is a big thing. Try to do your business with ethics.
Okay.
Make sure that regardless of how much money you can make, if it's not ethical or if you feel in your heart that that's not good business for you, don't do it.
Right.
Something better is going to come up to. Um, and consistency. As I was telling you, for 3 years, I was just like almost like ready to give up.
Just
And
grinding it out.
yeah, and I was like, man, why I continue doing this? Like if I'm not seeing the light, I'm a business owner, but I'm working two jobs because I had to out of a second job to to take care of my living expenses because the
Right.
business was not doing it. But I was there. I was there, very consistent, and people appreciate that. And when people appreciate that, they'll give you opportunities. So consistency and ethics and hard work to me are the keys of any business you're going into. It could it be roasting or could it be coffee or anything else. Those three things will be something that will get you places.
Awesome. So another thing, now that you're on top of your business venture, do you see after being and you're on the same level as a lot of these other companies, do you see a lack of quality in some of the mass produced places now that you used to probably look at and you're like, "Oh man, I'm trying to get on that level," but you got up there and you realized, "Man, so many of these places are cutting corners, there's not quality, all that stuff."
Yeah, I mean that's different business models that we want to go into it, and I try to, like, hey, as you said, like you're growing and you're seeing other companies and you're like, man, I want to be like them too. I
Right.
want to do their business, but I realized that that's not the business I want to be in.
Right.
And I even told my family too, like, hey, why do we want to be a huge exporter? That's not the business that we want to be in, because coming back to what is ethical and what is not ethical.
Right. Right.
To grow big in a business, sometimes I'm like, it looks like I'm gonna be not even producing coffee anymore, and I just becoming a buyer and just buy a bunch of coffee from other people, and I'm gonna have to sacrifice other things. And in order to make a successful business, I'm gonna start paying less. I'm gonna start screwing up other producers. So that's not what I started this company.
Right. Right.
That's not what I'm gonna do,
Okay.
because you have to compromise margins. you fight with so many things to get those 3 4 cents. So you know who's gonna pay for that is that producer back over there.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? No, let's stay where we are. Let's be focused on what we do. Let's continue the quality. Let's do that. So that's something, that when you told me that, I was like, no, I don't think I'm gonna be one of those big trading houses that is gonna be doing. I mean, their business is different than what I do.
Right.
I try to be more on, hey, I even had a visit one time from a big buyer, right? And they told me, hey, the competitors offer your coffee way cheaper than you. I took them in my truck and I told them, you see that farms over there? Those are my farms. You see how
Mm.
green they are? Yes. You see those workers driving the nice motorcycles and nice trucks? Those are my workers. Let's keep driving. You see those farms over there? Oh, those
Mhm.
terrible. Yes, those are those are the farms that you're buying coffee from. In 2, 3, 4 years, they will disappear
Right.
because they will have no more money to come back. So that's what makes a big difference on how you buy coffee. That
Right.
you want to be those guys, or you want to be on this side.
For
It
sure.
didn't say nothing. It was
Right.
just like,
They're like, all right, that makes sense. So, all right, right before we close here, Nelson. So, any roaster that's going to see this podcast, what can they expect to get from De La Finca?
all right. We try to do a really good customer service. That's what, I try to do my best with my customers. We're trying to know our customers with fun. As I say, this is what you will find, always.
Right.
We try to be there. We try to be genuine, but we try to find you the best coffee.
Right.
I have 2 guys that work with me in sales, and I told them I don't want you to call yourself salespeople because I don't want you to sell nothing. I want you to be a partner and consultant for the roaster. I want you to
Right.
help them to find the beans that will fit what they're looking for. But at the same time, I want you to help them to grow because that's what's happening with me. I have a roaster that I remember that I was delivering coffee to his house. I don't know if he's listening to this, but I was delivering coffee to his living room.
Right.
And then I saw him growing and growing and growing. And this guy is like now signing contracts for a full harvest of one of my
Wow.
nephews. And I'm like, so if we're being here together, that's what you're gonna get from us. Friendship, but you're still gonna get a good product. And we try to be very competitive and what we do too. Sometimes people think that, hey, your coffees are under on the price. I said, no, we're trying to do what's fair. Like we control a lot of the, like the sourcing, and we do a lot of work. So we try to be more, what's fair. I want them to be successful. And I know what we're doing is we're paying what's fair to the producers. We try to make same thing on our profits. We're trying to make what's fair. So you're still gonna get, like we have some coffees that could be $6, $7, and we have them more affordable. And it's not because they're lower quality. It's just because we're trying to give everybody opportunities to get some of those good coffees at a good prices. So main thing that I always tell people with us, you're gonna have consistency on your coffees, especially if you get core coffees from Honduras, you're gonna have them year after year.
Right.
We keep investing, as I was telling you, technology. We keep putting money back into our plantations, so the quality is always improving. Even
Okay.
into our milling facilities, we keep putting more technology. So if there's witnesses there, there'll be witnesses. Since I started it to where we at now and where we're going, things are always getting better. So you will find a good partner with us.
Okay, awesome. You guys, you heard that. So I think you guys need to go follow him ASAP. Nelson, I think you're doing amazing things. Your company is growing and growing, and more people are starting to talk about your business. And for any of you that haven't heard of De La Finca, where can they find you at, Nelson?
Well, we are north, like our office is in North Carolina in a small town called Holly Springs. And that's what we do, but we keep coffees all over the country and different warehouses. And we keep in Continental, New Jersey. We keep also in Houston, and we keep coffee in Texas.
Okay, awesome.
And we're not just Honduras anymore. We do a lot of work with other countries. Like we have 11 origins that we work directly. And as I say, you will find good prices, good consistency. And we do have a really good team now in North Carolina that does quality control. They love their copying. Same thing here. We like to profile and help a lot. As I say, we're trying to do the best we can with the tools we have. We are not a big company still to have a lot of things, but what we have, we're trying to do the best.
Right, for sure. You guys, you can find you can find the whole team at De La Finca Coffee on Instagram as well. So make sure you go over there and follow them on Instagram. And what is your website again, Nelson?
Is I like that. delafincacoffee.com.
Awesome. Go follow them over there. All right, Nelson, I appreciate you sitting down with me, brother.
Thank you so much. It was really fun. This is the first time I'm doing something like this, so but it was really cool. Thank you so much
Awesome.
for the time.
Yeah, no problem. And anytime you guys go down a different endeavor, or if you want to talk about the future of De La Finca, you're more than welcome back on the podcast.
Appreciate it. Thank you
Uh,
very much.